Good morning. Welcome again to Morning Devotions, and thank you so much for our time together. It's been a rough week. The sun hasn't come out yet, except for a couple of minutes, a couple of times. It gave us a little bit of hope. We haven't been able to get our houses dried out yet. We haven't been able to get our clothes dried all week from our laundry. It's been a rough week, but God's been with us. And you need to be in God's house tonight or tomorrow in one of the services. There's 14 services that go on around COP all over the city. We encourage that you be in one of the services. You need the encouragement of His Word. You need the strength of His presence flowing into your life after a week like this. So we'll look forward to seeing you this weekend. But today, I have to tell you, it was a hard choice what to teach from for just our little devotional, because we're starting Ecclesiastes, and believe it or not, it's one of my favorite books in the Bible. You say, Pastor, no, it's an incredible book of wisdom once you learn to understand it. Proverbs, oh my goodness, Psalms. And then the gifts of the Spirit over there in Corinthians. My goodness, how do you choose today? But I want to talk about something very practical with you. And the fact is, if you don't learn from the past, you're going to do it again. In Ecclesiastes 1, verse 9, Solomon says, "What has been will be again. What has been done will be done again. There is nothing new under the sun." And then he comes over in chapter 3, verse 15 and says, "Whatever is has already been, and what will be has been before." Now, brothers and sisters, you need to understand there's not a problem that you face that hasn't, forgive me, been faced 10,000 times by 10,000 different people before. There's not a problem with your children that hasn't been faced before. There's not a problem with your business that hasn't been faced before. There's not a weird doctrine or weird demon or weird preacher or weird anything that hasn't been before. There's nothing new under the sun. So if you and I can relax with that and go, you know what? All right, I don't have to make all the same mistakes the last generation made. I can learn from the past. I can learn from their mistakes. I can learn from what I read in history. I can learn from what I read in biographies of great Christian men and women. I can learn from what I read in the Bible. If we can learn from the mistakes of others, if we can learn from the successes of others, if we can learn how other people solve their problems with God, if we can learn from the past, then forgive me, not only will we not repeat it, but we will be much more successful in life. Too often, you and I like to live our lives as if we're a single ocean-going vessel going through this world, and we've got to pioneer every thought and every idea and every problem on our own. And when you do that, forgive me, it's not like sailing smooth oceans. It's like being an icebreaker and you're having to break through 10-foot thick ice to make any progress. Look around. Read biographies. Spend more time reading the Bible. Talk to other Christians. How have they learned things? There's nothing new under the sun. Learn the lessons that others have learned. Learn the successes. Learn from the failures. And don't get shocked by some new weird thing that comes along. Have you ever noticed, now please, I'm not old, but some of you are going to think the way I'm talking now I sound old. I'm only 56. I'm a very young man. Some of us live way into their 80s and 90s. So I got a long time to go. But have you ever noticed that the older you get, the more you don't get bothered by every crazy new thing that comes around? It's because you've already seen it once in your life. The feathers, I saw back in the early 80s. The gold dust and the gemstones, we saw that back in the late 70s and early 80s. I mean, every single weird doctrine that you see, the big shaking and the falling away of preachers, when that happened in the 80s, it shook me to my core. Now I look around at it and go, my goodness, people make the same mistakes all over again. Please, look around, lift up your eyes, learn from the failures, learn from the successes of others, but don't get too shaken by things. God is not surprised. God has seen all of this a million times before, and He's still Lord. There's nothing new under the sun.